All right, welcome to the continuation of Module 8-1. Here we're in video 8.1b, and we're on page 363, you guys, with Explain 3. In this part, we're going to be working with a little bit more of the algebra and the coordinate geometry on the XY plane, as we're finding the actual coordinates of a circumcenter on the coordinate plane. Now, we're still using the idea that the circumcenter is the point of concurrency of all the perpendicular bisectors, just like we did in the previous video, okay? So we're going to use the idea of things that are perpendicular to sides of a triangle that are already determined, and also bisectors. So remember, anytime we have bisector, that means we're also involving a midpoint. So you can see, I hope, the theorems that are going to kind of be involved here. Let's reason through this. With example 3, it says, graph the triangle with the given vertices, R, S, and O, and find the circumcenter of the triangle. So negative 6, 0 is R, S is 0, 4, and O is 0, 0, or the origin, which is why they're calling it O. So first order of business is to just graph the triangle. And so you can see those points graphed there. Then step 2 is to find equations for just 2 perpendicular bisectors. We know all 3 are concurrent, but all we really need is a point of intersection of 2 lines. The third line is not really necessary to actually find the point itself. So since RO is on the x-axis, we're told here, its perpendicular bisector. What's perpendicular to a horizontal segment? Well, it's vertical. And how do we know it's the line x equals negative 3? Because that, you guys, is the midpoint of segment RO, not RS, sorry. And that would just be by taking the coordinates R and O and doing the midpoint formula with them. So negative 6 plus 0 over 2 and 0 plus 0 over 2, again with these coordinates R and O here. Remember, we're taking the average of the x coordinates and the average of the y coordinates. Add the x coordinates, divide by 2, add the y coordinates, divide by 2. And when we do that, I hope you can see we get the point negative 3, 0. So what is the line that is vertical through that point 3, 0? That's going to be the just x equals negative 3 line, okay? So by the same token, if we're looking at side SO, which is vertical, then we want to go through its perpendicular bisector being horizontal, and the horizontal line that it's on is going to go through, again, in this case, if you wanted to calculate it, it would be the midpoint of SO, which we could, again, use the calculations for. S and O would be 0 plus 0 over 2, the x-coordinates average, or 4 plus 0 over 2, the y-coordinates average, and that point would be 0, 2, and so the y equals 2 line goes right through that point 0, 2, which is the midpoint there. Okay, so all the perpendicular bisectors, like we said, go through the midpoint, and it didn't show those calculations, so I just thought it would be helpful. The midpoint of the horizontal segment is negative 3, 0. The midpoint of the vertical segment is 0, 2. And so the 2 lines that we have to intersect are x equals negative 3 and y equals 2. And of course, the intersection of those 2 lines is just the point where you're putting both of those coordinates together, which is negative 3, 2. And so we've found the circumcenter of triangle ROS. Now let's look at part B. Just another one to fill in as we go here. We've got a new set of points, so we want to have a new graph. Let's graph the points negative 1, 5 for A. And I'm going to zoom in here so it's a little easier to graph, and then we will come back out to fill-ins. All right, so we have the points negative 1, 5 for A. We have B is 5, 5. And we have C is 5, negative 1. Okay, so we're going to draw that triangle in here. And of course we've got another right triangle. So we're going to find perpendicular bisectors of those sides that make the right angle, which will help us out. Side AB, we are told, side AB is of course horizontal. And so its perpendicular bisector is vertical. And the perpendicular bisector of AB is the midpoint. If we calculated the midpoint of AB, we're going to get the point 25. And the vertical line will go through that x coordinate, so that's the line x equals 2. Then side BC is vertical, so its perpendicular bisector is going to be a horizontal line through the midpoint, and the midpoint of BC is the point 5,2. And so that is the horizontal line with the y-coordinate of 2. So the lines x equals 2 and y equals 2 intersect at the point 2, 2, and therefore 2, 2 is the circumcenter of triangle ABC. On our next page here, the your turns that we would like for you guys to do this round are questions 8 and 9. And just a reminder to make sure that you graph these first, because once you graph them, you want to make sure you're finding the perpendicular bisectors, just like you did before. But make sure you're finding the perpendicular bisectors of the horizontal and the vertical sides. These are going to come out to be right triangles, just like the previous two examples we just talked through. So make sure you're not finding the perpendicular bisector of the hypotenuse, because that's not going to be an easy one for you to figure out. Okay? We will see you guys in the next video. Bye.